It looks like the party's officially over for Diddy. The American rapper has been arrested by federal agents on serious charges and is now behind bars, far from the glitz and glamour of his once lavish lifestyle. His case has sparked a wave of questions. Could Diddy spend the rest of his life in prison? Will the public ever see the full extent of the accusations? Will those close to him, friends, collaborators, or staff, testify? And might Diddy try to protect himself by naming others in the industry? But perhaps the most pressing question is this: is life in prison, especially for someone like Diddy, worse than death? He's currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, a facility now under intense national scrutiny. Conditions there are reportedly brutal. Meals are often described as barely edible, and even the most basic necessities are hit or miss. In the summer, temperatures inside can become unbearable, while in winter, inadequate heating has caused toilet water to freeze. Violence is common, and high-profile inmates like Diddy may face even more danger due to their notoriety. Amid growing concerns, federal authorities, including the Bureau of Prisons, the Department of Justice's Inspector General, and other agencies, have launched an interagency operation at the MDC. While officials haven't directly linked the investigation to Diddy's arrival, the timing has raised eyebrows. Could his presence have accelerated the probe? The Bureau of Prisons insists the operation was pre-planned and not a response to any specific threat. They've kept details under wraps, citing safety and security for both inmates and staff. However, reports suggest the effort includes a comprehensive search for contraband, an ongoing issue at the facility. The MDC houses about 1,200 people, many of whom are awaiting trial or serving short sentences. But with someone like Diddy in the mix, all eyes are now on what happens next, inside and outside those prison walls. Despite its status as a high-security facility, the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, has long been plagued by serious problems. Violence, overcrowding, staffing shortages, and drug smuggling are just a few of the chronic issues that have tarnished the MDC's reputation. In early 2024, New York Representative Dan Goldman called for a formal investigation into the deteriorating conditions at the facility. According to Goldman, the MDC has been consistently understaffed and relies excessively on solitary confinement. He also noted that violence is a daily threat, not just for inmates, but for correctional officers as well. In fact, a federal judge recently refused to send a defendant to MDC specifically due to the unsafe conditions, highlighting the severity of the crisis. Goldman's concerns go beyond the daily hardships. He pointed out that 4 inmates died within a 7-month span in recent years, including a man named Edwin Cordo, who was killed in a fight inside the facility. The violence hasn't been limited to inmate altercations. Staff members and outsiders have also been involved in troubling incidents. Multiple inmates were recently charged in connection with violent attacks, including a stabbing with an ice pick and an assault on a corrections officer. The breakdown in control has even extended to staff corruption. A former corrections officer pled guilty to smuggling cell phones into the facility. One inmate was later charged in a plot to murder a rival outside the prison. The attack failed, but a 28-year-old woman, an innocent bystander outside a nightclub, was shot as a result of the plan, which authorities say was orchestrated using one of those smuggled phones. Sadly, these incidents are not anomalies at MDC. The facility has a long and troubling history. In 2019, inmates were awarded a $10 million settlement after enduring over a week of freezing temperatures during a blackout. Extreme heat in the summer and inadequate heating in the winter continue to be persistent problems. Now with Diddy, real name Sean Combs, behind bars, MDC is back in the spotlight. His dramatic fall from grace began on September 16, 2024, when he was arrested on a series of serious charges. Known for hosting exclusive parties attended by powerful music industry figures, Diddy's world of luxury has been replaced by one of harsh conditions, uncertainty, and national scrutiny. The lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs has sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, alleging not just personal misconduct, but the existence of a far-reaching criminal enterprise, one that may implicate some of the most powerful names in the music industry. Among those named is Lucian Grainge, CEO of Universal Music Group, a company responsible for a significant share of today's chart-topping hits. This connection raises alarming questions about how deep the alleged corruption runs. According to the lawsuit, Diddy is accused of secretly recording high-profile individuals at his private residence using hidden cameras. These recordings allegedly captured incriminating material, often without the knowledge or consent of his guests. While none of this footage has been released publicly and the case remains ongoing, the accusations paint a chilling picture, one suggesting that Diddy's alleged crimes may have entangled others in positions of influence. Central to the federal indictment is the claim that Diddy led a sophisticated criminal organization dubbed the Combs Enterprise. Prosecutors allege that this network operated for over 15 years, helping him commit and conceal a range of serious crimes, including human trafficking, forced labor, bribery, arson, obstruction of justice, and racketeering conspiracy. The goal? To expand his power, wealth, and control over the music industry. The indictment outlines how Diddy allegedly used a wide array of associates, bodyguards, assistants, and others within his circle, to carry out illegal activities and shield him from consequences. One of the most disturbing elements of the case involves events known as FOFs, private, coercive, and exploitative gatherings arranged by Diddy himself. According to prosecutors, these FOFs involved intimate and often disturbing scenarios, in which women were reportedly coerced into attending. Many were allegedly threatened, physically assaulted, or given illegal substances to ensure their compliance. Diddy is further accused of secretly recording these encounters to use as blackmail, preventing victims from speaking out. These gatherings are said to have been a core component of the Combs Enterprise, reflecting the extreme level of manipulation and control Diddy is alleged to have exercised over his victims. Many of the women involved claim they felt they had no choice but to comply, terrified that refusal could ruin their careers or put them in physical danger. As the case unfolds, it threatens to expose not just the alleged actions of one man, but a deeper, darker undercurrent in the upper echelons of the music industry. For many of the alleged victims, their careers, financial stability, and even personal safety were on the line. According to the indictment, Sean Diddy Combs maintained an intense level of control over their lives, allegedly administering a mix of narcotics, including horse tranquilizers and MDMA, to weaken resistance during exploitative events. The accusations describe a deeply manipulative environment. Diddy is said to have tracked his victims' movements, dictated their appearance, and even accessed their medical records. Prosecutors allege he used a combination of physical violence, psychological control, and powerful substances to dominate not only his victims, but also his close associates. In some cases, women were reportedly locked in rooms while they recovered from injuries, kept hidden until they were deemed presentable again. The threat of exposure came with serious consequences. Anyone who dared to speak out allegedly faced violent retaliation, bribery attempts, or extreme intimidation. This reportedly included acts such as kidnapping, arson, and threats of financial ruin or bodily harm. One disturbing example cited in the case involves rapper Kid Cudi. Prosecutors claim that Diddy, enraged by Cudi's close relationship with his ex, Cassie, set fire to Cudi's car in a fit of jealousy and anger. When authorities searched Diddy's home, they reportedly found illegal drugs, large amounts of lubricant, and firearms with their serial numbers removed, items believed to have been used to control and threaten victims. If convicted, Diddy stands to lose millions. Prosecutors are not only seeking a prison sentence, but also aiming to seize any property or financial assets obtained through illegal means. This includes any assets he may have attempted to hide or transfer to others to avoid forfeiture. Despite the severity of the allegations, Diddy has pleaded not guilty. The charges carry the possibility of a sentence ranging from 25 years to life in prison. For now, he remains behind bars awaiting trial. His legal team has filed a motion requesting that he be released on bond, meaning he would pay a set amount to remain free until his court date. In their argument, his lawyers insisted that Diddy is not a flight risk. They emphasized that when he became aware of the government's intention to press charges, he did not attempt to flee or evade authorities. Diddy didn't flee or disappear when the investigation against him gained momentum. Instead, he left his Miami home and traveled to New York, where the federal investigation was unfolding. According to his legal team, he even offered to voluntarily turn himself in before ultimately being arrested by authorities. His attorneys argue that these actions demonstrate his willingness to cooperate and his reliability in the face of serious allegations. They point out that Diddy has been aware of the investigation for quite some time, and despite that, has shown no attempt to run or obstruct the process. In fact, his legal team highlighted one key move to support their claim. Diddy recently initiated the sale of his private jet and promptly informed the government about it, signaling that he had no intention of using it to flee. Additionally, after federal agents searched his properties, Diddy's lawyers voluntarily handed over his passport, making it impossible for him to leave the country. His legal team argues these actions show a clear intention to face the charges head-on and cooperate with the legal system. To further ensure he remains available for trial, Diddy's attorneys have proposed a comprehensive bond package. At the heart of it, a $50 million bail, backed by his fully paid-off Miami mansion, valued at $48 million. His mother's home would also be included as additional collateral. The bond would be co-signed by family members, who would be held financially responsible if Diddy violated any terms of his release. As an added safeguard, his legal team offered to place Diddy under strict house arrest with 24/7 GPS monitoring. Under this arrangement, he would only be allowed to travel for specific reasons, such as court appearances in New York or Florida, or approved medical appointments. Details about his medical needs, they said, would be submitted to the court in a sealed letter. To further demonstrate their commitment to the court's trust, Diddy's entire family has already surrendered their passports as well, ensuring no one can assist in a potential escape. In total, Diddy's defense argues that his cooperation, his surrender of travel documents, the sale of his jet, the substantial bond, and the willingness to be monitored show a genuine intent to fight the charges in court, not to flee justice. However, prosecutors are pushing back hard. They've urged the court to keep Diddy in custody, arguing that he remains a flight risk and could potentially obstruct justice or intimidate witnesses. The prosecution also brought up. Prosecutors cited a specific incident from March 5, 2015, at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles as a clear example of Diddy's alleged pattern of abuse and cover-up. According to court documents, a woman tried to leave one of Diddy's so-called FUF events that night. When she attempted to escape, Diddy allegedly assaulted her. Hotel security intervened, but when a guard tried to assist the woman, Diddy reportedly attempted to bribe him with cash, a bribe that the guard refused. Prosecutors claim that Diddy then tried to obtain and destroy the hotel's security footage. That footage later vanished from the hotel's server, which authorities argue was part of a long-running effort to erase evidence and obstruct justice. This very incident was later referenced in a 2023 lawsuit filed by Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie, who alleged that he assaulted her at the same hotel that night. Diddy initially denied the accusation. However, when footage of the incident surfaced, he reversed course, admitted to the altercation, and issued a public apology. To prosecutors, this incident underscores a disturbing pattern, one of dishonesty, intimidation, and calculated efforts to avoid accountability. They've argued that releasing Diddy before trial poses too great a risk. He has the resources, connections, and influence, they claim, to continue obstructing justice or intimidating witnesses. Backing up their concerns, the prosecution presented additional evidence. Over 50 witnesses have already been interviewed, and search warrants have been executed on various cloud storage accounts. Investigators reportedly seized 90 cell phones, 30 other electronic devices, and an extensive surveillance system, many of which are believed to contain recordings of Diddy's alleged F-off events where illegal activity allegedly occurred. In total, around 300 grand jury subpoenas have been issued. The prosecution insists that releasing Diddy now would jeopardize the integrity of the investigation and that he remains too dangerous to be let out on bond. In response, Diddy's legal team pushed back, emphasizing his willingness to cooperate. They pointed out that in March 2024, they began communicating directly with the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding his case and have since kept prosecutors informed of Diddy's movements, every trip, every event. According to his lawyers, Diddy continued to live his life openly, attending family gatherings such as a graduation and even a whitewater rafting trip, all while keeping the authorities notified. They claim this behavior proves he's not trying to run, but rather face the allegations head-on. In an effort to humanize their client, the defense also highlighted Diddy's background. His father was killed when Diddy was just 2 years old, and from those early struggles, he went on to build a multi-million-dollar empire from the ground up. His attorneys argued that he deserves a chance to prove he's committed to personal growth and accountability. They maintain that Diddy is not an ongoing threat to society, and that he's prepared to defend himself in court, not flee from it. Ultimately, the judge denied Diddy's request for bond, and now the rapper faces the grim reality of potential life imprisonment in New York City, where even the jail conditions themselves are under federal investigation. Despite actively fighting the charges, Diddy has been denied bail twice and is now reportedly being held in the Special Housing Unit, SHU, commonly known as solitary confinement. In the SHU, inmates are confined to their cells for 23 hours a day, with minimal contact with others. For someone of Diddy's high profile, isolation is seen as a protective measure. He's considered a likely target due to his notoriety. His new reality is a far cry from the opulence he once enjoyed. The cell is stark and minimal. Bare concrete. Walls, a steel bed frame with a thin mattress, no pillow, alongside a basic metal sink and toilet. There is no window, and the fluorescent lights remain on constantly, making it difficult to maintain a normal sleep cycle. Once surrounded by mansions, parties, and designer luxury, Diddy now wakes up in a space stripped of comfort. His daily routine includes cleaning his cell, mopping the floor, and keeping his small area orderly, tasks that serve as the only structured activity in an otherwise monotonous day. Solitary confinement, experts warn, can quickly lead to boredom, anxiety, and depression. Meals are passed through a slot in the door 3 times a day, consisting of basic prison fare, powdered scrambled eggs, cold hot dogs, plain bread, and milk. Some inmates have claimed that food is occasionally served with maggots. While Diddy does have access to the prison commissary, his spending is capped at $160 every 2 weeks. Through the commissary, he can purchase limited items like snacks, coffee, tea, and hygiene products. He might even be able to buy a small radio, but entertainment and external information are severely restricted. Showers are permitted just 3 times a week, and even those are problematic. Due to poor ventilation and infrastructure, the facilities are often moldy and unsanitary. The prison itself suffers from chronic issues with broken plumbing and malfunctioning heating systems. So much so that during colder months, the water in inmates' toilets has reportedly frozen. Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, has spoken out about the conditions, calling them almost unlivable. He's described the meals as inedible, the summer temperatures inside the facility as dangerously high, and the winters as brutally cold due to the lack of heating. These conditions, he argues, pose not only physical but serious mental health risks. As Diddy remains locked in a small cell with limited human contact, awaiting trial for charges that could lead to life behind bars, the contrast with his former lifestyle could not be more extreme. Once a billionaire mogul living at the top of the entertainment world, he now faces some of the harshest conditions in the U.S. prison system. Solitary confinement can have a very strong mental and emotional effect, even on famous inmates like Diddy. Because of isolation, some prisoners feel so lonely that they make friends with cockroaches and other pests. People in the SHU, Special Housing Unit, get almost no reading material or entertainment, making each day feel long and hard to get through. While Diddy used to host the most exclusive parties, now he spends 23 hours a day in a small cell with no comfort, peace, or distractions. His life in MDC tests his mental strength every day, but he still holds hope for his day in court. The bad conditions in MDC are not just a problem for that one facility. They are now causing the Bureau of Prisons to face more pressure for accountability. Until changes are made in the system, issues like this will continue in places like MDC. Although people want more transparency, the Bureau says they can't give too many details about investigations because it could allow prisoners to hide evidence. Right now, the public wants real reform, and repeated calls for change show how deep the problems at MDC are. If the Bureau admits its issues without getting defensive, it could earn back the trust of the public. This isn't just a problem. At MDC, there's also a staffing crisis across the country. In 2024, the Bureau announced a plan to increase staffing at MDC by 20%, but there are still many open positions. In expensive cities like New York, it's hard to hire people because salaries are too low. This problem isn't limited to New York. Places Like Sheridan, Oregon also struggle with not having enough correctional staff because the pay is too low for people to live there. People are increasingly realizing that the MDC requires substantial reforms to continue functioning properly. There's a growing demand for long-term improvements, effective leadership, and real accountability from those managing federal prisons. The lack of these essential elements over the years has led to frustration and a call for change. By publicly committing to fixing these issues, the Bureau of Prisons has a chance to demonstrate that it has learned from its past mistakes and is prioritizing the safety of both inmates and staff. However, meaningful progress will only come if there is sustained effort and a genuine willingness to address the root causes of these challenges, including the ongoing staffing shortages. There aren't enough programs available to inmates, largely due to the lack of staff to run them. For example, the Federal Residential Drug Abuse Program, which could reduce sentences by up to a year for those who complete it, is no longer offered at many prisons because there aren't enough personnel to run it. In places like California, not a single prison or camp offers this program, so inmates may have to be transferred far away, such as to Minnesota or Yankton, North Dakota. To fix this, better training, higher pay, and strategies to retain staff are essential to address these gaps and reduce the high turnover rate. This revolving door of staff has contributed to the large-scale investigation currently underway, aiming to determine how to keep employees long-term, ensure inmate safety, and increase accountability among staff. Regarding Diddy's situation, his legal team initially pushed for his transfer to a jail in New Jersey, but seems to have stepped back after reports that MDC addressed some of their concerns. Although the details of the response are unclear, Diddy is now attempting to secure bail again, this time under Judge Aaron Subramanian. This marks the third judge to review his bail request. However, it's unlikely that the ongoing investigation or the facility's issues will influence the decision. Other inmates in MDC, facing less severe charges, have also been denied bail, so Diddy's case likely won't be impacted by the facility's current troubles. The Bureau of Prisons seems committed to following its regulations, showing no intent to offer Diddy any preferential treatment. In fact, they may impose stricter measures due to his high-profile status. It's important to remember that the rapper is still legally presumed innocent until proven guilty, and he denies all the allegations against him. His attorney has raised concerns about his safety at the MDC, given reports of violence. This is a real concern, as some inmates might not be deterred by consequences like confinement or transfers due to the length of their sentences. However, that may not apply to Diddy, who is used to a completely different lifestyle. The question remains, will Diddy make it through this safely? Safety is a significant reason for his continued isolation. While high-profile inmates such as the Menendez brothers have managed to survive decades in confinement, it's much harder for Diddy, as it means more time in isolation, more scrutiny, and a heightened need for him to monitor his behavior if he ever joins the general population. If he stays in isolation, he'll have to navigate how others view him. The ongoing investigation into MDC may benefit from the Federal Prison Oversight Act, which requires the Department of Justice's Inspector General to more rigorously oversee federal prisons. However, meaningful change within the prison system takes time. Director Colette Peters of the Federal Bureau of Prisons aims to focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment, but bureaucracy can slow down progress. Compared to decades past, some improvements have been made, and the hope is that this continues with greater transparency and accountability from the Bureau. Real improvement requires acknowledging past mistakes and making a genuine commitment to do better, something the Bureau expects from those it detains. While the timing of Diddy's imprisonment and the ongoing operation at MDC may seem like a coincidence, hopefully, the Bureau of Prisons will conduct a thorough review of the conditions at the MDC. Ultimately, the goal is for life in prison to be humane for all inmates. That's all for today. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Criminal Corner so you don't miss the next one.